That's a baseball. Put it in my butt. Good day to you, viewer. My name is Matt. That's Jerva. We're with the Busted Couch, and we are here to talk about Furious 6. It was better than Star Trek. Plot-wise, kind of a ridiculous plot. There's some ridiculous moments in the movie that that you would expect anyway. Fun movie, lots of action.
It really is.
The Rock is awesome. Some of the moves in the movie are great.
Yeah, there's some choice fighting stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as good as the fifth one. It's close. It flows better. Like, there's a sense of tension and urgency, whereas most Fast and Furious movies are like, giant action scene, bunch of stuff happens, giant action scene at the end. This one is like kind of pretty consistent throughout.
Yeah, it actually ramps.
And they really like, exactly in case you happen to not catch the themes, to just straight say them, because they're going up against a team that's like them. And Tyrese is just like, it's like we're fighting our evil twins.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is like, Vin Diesel's group is all about family, and this bad guy's group is all about, he doesn't care about them, they're parts of the machine. If they don't work, whatever, he'll get rid of them and replace them with something new to make the machine run smoother. But he comes out and like directly says this to Vin Diesel at one point. He's like, just in case it was really, too subtle for you. BAM! There's a flying headbutt. Vin Diesel runs and then just like lunges and headbutts a guy.
That's just the end of the movie.
He does that and it causes a nuclear explosion.
He split brain atoms. Anyway, if you're in the neighborhood of a theater and you're thinking, hey, I want to go see a movie, you should probably
I'd like to see something fun.
Yeah.
This is fun.
It's actually not bad. I used to hate the Fast and Furious movies, like just the thought of them.
Because they are terrible.
And then 5 came out and...
Well, 4 started to turn around.
Yeah, but still 5 was where I was like, this is pretty good.
I heard 4 was good. I'm like, I'd seen 2. That was actually the only one I'd seen at that point. It was horrible. But before this came out, I rewatched them all. Or watched most of them for the first time. 2 is still horrible. It is a terrible film. 1 and 3 aren't very good either. 4 starts to get interesting. 5 is goddamn ridiculous and it's glorious.
Yeah. Even if you're not a fan of the series or whatever, even if you just have like a really light sprinkling of what's going on.
There's like an opening montage that basically shows you anything, that kind of leads up to what will need to happen in this.
Yeah.
So here's them. They met. They raced. This guy headbutted some dude. This happened. This guy slammed into a wall. This exploded.
So anyway, it's good. So I think we should probably just move on to talking about the actual film, and spoilers now. So the movie starts off... Actually, where did it start off? Exactly.
Paul Walker and Vin Diesel were racing, and I actually thought this was like a direct continuation of the end of 5, because they've got like this, even though they've become like, brothers and best friends and everything, they've still got this rivalry where Vin Diesel always like, he just assumes he's the better racer, and Paul Walker's always like, I'm gonna beat you fair and square one of these times, I'm gonna show you I can race better than you. He's like, come on. And at the end of the last one was like, they had gotten away and they were, had their $100 million or whatever, and they're just like relaxing, and then Paul Walker's like, wanna race? And Diesel's like, yes I do. Credits. So I thought this was just continuing straight from that, because now they're racing. But no, it was actually, what the hell's her name? Jordana Brewster. She was in The Faculty. But yeah, she's giving birth, and they're like racing down some super windy, fancy, mountain highway to get there, to the nunnery where she's giving birth.
Hopefully Elijah Wood's there.
And just because of The Faculty, or does he hang out at nunneries a lot? Elijah Wood, new Sister Act. Make it happen.
What the fuck are we talking about?
No,
anyway,
yeah, and so Vin Diesel's like, when you walk in that door, you're a father now, and we gotta put our old lives behind us and never race again because it's dangerous, and you've got a family. Paul Walker's like, okay, brother. Then cut to The Rock looking at the aftermath of an awesome action scene. And him and Gina Carano, who's his new sidekick, seeing as his last sidekick kind of left and started banging Vin Diesel, so he needed a new one. And it's Gina Carano. And they're walking around looking at this, and they know that it's like, they're like, there's only one guy who could be responsible for this. And, they're trying to make a thing of, they're going after Vin Diesel, but no, It's not Vin Diesel. It's some random bald dude who's been captured by Interpol. The Rock goes in to interrogate him. And by interrogate him, I mean continuously pick him up and smash him into the ceiling.
Yeah, it was like a fucking wrestling match.
And the Interpol guy, Sayo Gina Carano, is like, is this legal? And she's like, no. Ah.
What?
Oh, The Rock is amazing. And then we cut back to The Rock's former partner and Vin Diesel, you know, laying in bed in his fancy summer home naked. And then Vin Diesel gets up and has a Corona, because
That's what you do in the morning.
that's like all he drinks basically in these movies. I don't know if I ever saw him drink something that wasn't a Corona in any Fast and Furious movie. If he has, let us know. And The Rock's there. And he's like, wasn't hard to find you. Vin Diesel's like, I wasn't hiding. And then they make out. And he's like, I'm not here for you. There's this other guy who's pulling crazy racing heists just like you used to, but he's even better than you. And you're gonna take him down with me. He's like, I'm not gonna help you. You can't force. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna force. I'm just gonna leave, and you're gonna beg me to. Here's a file folder. I'll see you downstairs in 5. He opens the folder, and it's Michelle Rodriguez.
She's not dead!
She's not dead. Again, just like the last Resident Evil movie where she wasn't dead.
She has the power of a phoenix. She just comes back from the dead everywhere.
So his Brazilian police girlfriend is like, you have to go. If it was my husband, I'd do anything to find out if he was still alive. You have to go. So he's like, okay.
Yeah, there's no stupid drama there, which is good.
And then he comes downstairs, and The Rock's like, told you. And he's like, okay, we're going to do this and everything. They're planning, and The Rock's like, got all his plans. Like, whoa, no. If you're getting Vin Diesel to do this, Vin Diesel's bringing his own team. Vin Diesel speaks in the third person. So then it cuts to all the team all over the place. Tyrese is in his jet, which says it's Roman bitch on the wing. And he was going to like some super fancy place with like a dozen girls. But then he gets a phone call from Vin Diesel, and he goes to the pilot. He's like, turn this around. I've got a new plan. Here's some vouchers for the buffet.
At the casino, you know that casino? Go there.
Yeah.
Have yourself a delicious buffet. Yeah, the scene with Ludacris and wherever he was. And
Yeah,
then
he like programs an ATM so that when he hits a button, it explodes and shoots money everywhere onto the crowd. Because the people were like, man, you used to be able to give your money away, but now you're rich and you keep your money.
You used to be like Robin Hood.
He's like, I realized when I got rich, I realized money doesn't grow on the trees. It rains from the sky, but he just drives off. Han and Giselle are somewhere discussing settling down when a whole bunch of police show up, and they just like stand up and start pointing guns in like every direction.
Yeah.
And one of the police officers just takes a phone and like chucks it to Han. He picks it up and is like, oh, it's Vin Diesel. It's like, why couldn't they just phone Han? Why did they know like why did Vin Diesel have that police person? Like, all right.
Whatever, just awkward scene. Just
Vin Diesel goes in person to get Paul Walker. As him and Jordana Brewster, they're hanging out playing with their little baby. And, you know, Paul Walker's got a little, like, you know, like, import car. He's like, Asian car, you like that, eh, baby? And then, you know, when he drives up, Vin Diesel's like, no, here's a toy American muscle car. You like that one better, don't you?
that baby. A life of torment. Torn between two fathers. Because any baby of Paul Walker's is a baby of Vin Diesel's.
Mm-hmm. Not just in these movies. Write your own fanfic, go.
Yeah. So, at this point, you know, Vin Diesel and him are sitting down after, you know, some more barbecue was done.
Mm-hmm.
And
the beers.
There's a good Corona. And
talking about how they have everything, but they're not back home, not hanging out at the old Toretto house in LA.
Weird.
Yeah, just even though it's home and they have everything, it's still not
home.
quite the same.
So they're talking, and Vin Diesel's like,
Vin
here.
Diesel's like, look at this picture. It's Michelle Rodriguez.
I was taken a week ago.
Mm-hmm. And Paul Walker's like, I used to be a cop. They're just messing with you. I used to do that stuff all the time. But then Jordana Brewster's like, no, there's a chance she's still alive. You've got to go. You've got to do exactly what you said right at the very start of this movie you wouldn't do.
The women are really supportive in this movie.
They are.
It feels like a trap.
They have dicks. So they go and meet up in London in a super fancy, you know, headquarters that The Rock's made for them, where they have like all sorts of fancy computers and everything. Ludacris is amazed with the computers. He's happy with that. The Rock starts trying to explain about this guy Shaw, and his team of evil drivers. But Tyrese is paying no attention because he wants to get some change so he can go get a snack from the vending machine. He's like being really awkward and not listening and annoying everyone. So The Rock just shoots the vending machine, like shoots the glass. So he's like, it's on me. And Tyrese's like, oh, thank you. She starts like picking through, like grabbing like bags of chips.
I like when he's like, when he turns to the group, he's like, which one of these fucking things is $1? Like, it just...
He's on American money. So they get together, and they that guy who The Rock threw into ceilings repeatedly, they've put a wire on him. They're sending him back to Shaw, and they're all standing around like it's some weird abandoned industrial like half-built building is where his headquarters is, and so like there's like half the cops of London are all gathered there waiting, along with like Paul Walker and Vin Diesel and everyone, and they send him in. And he's working on his weird-looking F1 car thing, and he chucks a bag to the guy. And he's like, "That's your take from, the last job." And at this time outside, the police scanners start going off. It's like they're hitting the Interpol headquarters right at this time. And so Paul Walker and like pretty much everyone other than Vin Diesel and The Rock race off to try and get to Interpol and intercept the rest of his team. Well, Vin Diesel and The Rock stay to get Shaw. At this point, Shaw drives off, and the dude opens the bag, and it's a bomb. And then the entire place just starts exploding, like cement raining down, like feet, inches behind Shaw's car as he just races through, and like makes all the cops just kind of collapse in piles of rubble and pretty much murders them. At which point the chase is on.
Yep, in his souped up Formula One Transformer car.
Yep, with a ramp on the front. So he's being chased by the Rock and by Vin Diesel. But there's also police coming towards him. So he's just kind of launching them over his car and flinging them through the air as weapons.
He kept launching the cars, and eventually, like it was just basically down to The Rock and The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Yeah, but they Vin Diesel like is just too good of a driver. He just swerves around all the flying, rolling cars, and The Rock is in like his big invincible truck thing from 5, so he just drives through them. Yeah. Like smashing into the cops, like, sorry boys.
And then it switches over to the other team, and they've
got one of those cars too.
Yeah, they get to Interpol and they start getting in a firefight, and then
there's a sniper on the roof who like pins them down.
Yeah.
And destroys Han and Giselle's cars. But then the team leaves, and they go get into a chase. There's the like weird car like Shaw's that a girl's in, and then the rest of the team is in like a Range Rover or something, some SUV.
Yeah, blank SUV.
And the one guy like smashes out the back window and has like this grenade launcher, and he chucks these little like electronic pucks onto the front of the 3 cars. It's Ludacris, Tyrese, and Paul Walker who are still chasing them. And they start like hacking into the car's electronics with like an iPad or something, using those things. And they make Ludacris and Tyrese crash. And then they're about to do the same thing to Paul Walker, and he just uses his amazing driving skills to just like drive directly beside a pole and just shear the thing off. Keeps the chase going. At which point the 2 teams meet up. So Paul Walker, The Rock, and Vin Diesel are all chasing the 2 fancy cars and the SUV through like an underground tunnel. And they split up. Paul Walker stays on the 2 he was with, and Vin Diesel and The Rock go after Shaw. At which point, what happens next? I guess it's Paul Walker crashing?
Yeah, because they were in the tunnels.
And so he's like just right behind the SUV, taking it just fine. And the girl in the flippy car went ahead and like turned around, just coming back. So that all of a sudden, like the
SUV moves out of the way.
Side, and then she's right there and just like ramps him, and he just goes flying and rolling.
And then she drives up slowly and just winks at him.
Upside down, like looks out at her. She winks and just drives off. So then we get the first ridiculous human stunt, which is somehow The Rock has gotten up to. He's driving like on an upper level above where Shaw is, and he just turns to Jim Brown, like, take the wheel, and just like dives out of the car. Onto Shaw's car.
It's about, I would say, about good 50-60 feet.
Yeah, it's like it's got to be over 3 stories.
Yeah, it's not a soft land, like it's not a soft drop. It's just.
And then immediately, like Shaw drives under this like barricade, which The Rock hits. And The Rock falls and goes rolling, but basically he like rolls once and it comes up with his gun drawn. It just starts firing it from like laying down after having just landed and then been thrown from a car going like 60 miles an hour.
Rock's the Terminator.
Yep, pretty much. So then it's everyone's out of the race and out of contention except for Vin Diesel. When all of a sudden this car comes and smashes into him.
Hey, what's
it's Michelle
up?
Rodriguez.
What's up, Michelle? You look good for a dead girl.
Yep, so he chases her down, and he gets out of the car. He's like, Letty! And she gets out of her car, and then just shoots him in the chest and drives off.
With a very rare bullet.
Yeah, super rare bullet.
Like
super rare bullet that can only be used by one type of Russian handgun.
Yeah.
But anyway, that happens. So they completely get their ass kicked in their first showdown with the evil team. Then they're all back at their headquarters, licking their wounds. Vin Diesel is like you think someone could help him take out the bullet? No, he's just standing there with like some gauze. And he just like pliers, bullet, drop.
This time the bullet though.
He actually like when he gets shot, he like falls back.
He fell back on his car.
When he gets shot in the fourth movie, where he's just like, "You shot me? Oh, I'm gonna beat you,
fucking asshole!" Just walks up to the guy that just shot him, just starts beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, so this time. It probably wasn't like the physical pain or anything. It was more he was just so shocked that Letty shot him. That's why he felt. I was like, what just happened? What? Also, there's a bullet in me. What was that?
Yeah.
Now they need to find out more, and so they kind of split up. And one team, like they used their super car skills to, without actually like looking anything up, just like by like they talk about like what type of engine and hydraulics and all this other stuff that Shaw's fancy flippy car had, just based on having heard it kind of while they were, because that's, I mean, the car superpowers. So they narrow it down to there's only one possible, I think there's like a half dozen possible places in all of London where they could have gotten these cars built. And so the one group leaves to look into those, while Paul Walker and Vin Diesel go to the one pawn shop where she could have possibly gotten that super rare gun that fires super rare bullets. And the third group is Gina Carano and The Rock, because apparently the CCTVs, wherever Shaw's happens to be acting, are always down. So they go to CCTV headquarters. And The Rock goes in and they want to see those cameras. Like, oh, they're down for maintenance. They're like, okay. And just like shakes the guy's hand, just starts squeezing it. And he's like, that'd be crazy if someone's working for Shaw. That'd be crazy, especially if it was you. That'd be really silly. Maybe you should never have any more things down for maintenance. I don't want a personal live 24-hour stream of all your cameras. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You're shaking my hand so hard.
Was this before or after they went to check out that guy?
That was around the same time.
Yeah.
They finally narrowed down to the guy who created the car. And they go there, and apparently he's got some sort of crazy harpoon gun that he's now designed when he's not making cars.
Yep. This is really just an excuse to put that in the movie.
Yeah, they bring the harpoon gun back afterwards and give it to Ludacris, who then like improves the design and makes like a dozen of them and passes them out to everybody. Because they all have them at the end of the movie. Who has there? It was Gina Carano, Giselle, Han, and Tyrese.
Yeah, they go off to the...
Yeah, they're the group. And they're discussing to go down there. Tyrese is like, well, I should go down there because I'm the talkie guy and talk my way in there, which actually would have been great if it happens, because that's apparently his ability. He's the guy who can just like talk and make his way in everywhere. Every time he tries to do that in these movies, he fails. So it would have been interesting, but no, it's the two girls go down
because he's a man.
Yeah, and he's getting all upset. What do you mean he's a man? It's just something about us, come on. And he's like, bitching about it to Han, and Han's like, I don't care. He's like, well, I know, it's because you and Giselle, you like her, I know, I can see this. And he starts going on this
thing about getting married. And
yeah, he's like, well, you better give her a big ring, she's gonna need a big ring, or else you gotta be big somewhere else. Know what I'm saying?
He's just like,
and Han's just like, yeah. So that's why all your women have so much jewelry. And then Gina Carano starts trying to break the guy's arm, and they get him to talk because he doesn't want his arm broken. So he takes them in to like give them all the information about the car and Shaw, but he like at the same time he like quickly pocket dials Shaw and like leaves his phone on as he's doing this so that Shaw can hear this, and he sends a group to intercept them. Meanwhile, actually this scene goes nowhere, but Vin Diesel and Paul Walker go to the pawn shop where Vin Diesel beats up everyone and asks the guy about Letty, and he's like, yeah, she bought the gun. He's like, where is he? You're like, I don't know where she is. And he's like, okay, and knocks him out and leaves.
Yeah, this scene is pretty much pointless.
I guess it's just to kill time before we cut back to now the group, which is Letty, the Asian guy on Shaw's team who was in the raid, and the one black guy on the team show up and start firing into the shop, and they like hit the tech guy, car building guy,
Yeah, whatever.
harpoon guy. They hit that dude in the chest. Then they're firing in, and Han and Tyrese jump down to run in, and there's a big fight, and everyone gets split up. Giselle shoots black guy, and Han and Tyrese go after the Asian guy, and
Yeah.
and
what's her face goes after Michelle Rodriguez.
Gina Carano goes after Michelle Rodriguez.
So,
But as the tech guy is dying, he says Braga, the bad guy from 4. He says his name as he dies, and that's how they know that he's totally tied into Shaw, and that leads into a thing. But anyway, now it's chase time.
yep, foot chases all around.
Yep. And there's a nice big fight scene between
Asian guy and
Asian guy and well, first of all, he runs in, he knocks some people over in the subway. So there's these 3 cops whoa, just stand there. So he just kind of walks up and then just pretty much instantly knocks them all out.
yeah, just beats crap out of
I wish
them.
one of the other 2 show up and start trying to fight, and he just completely outclasses them to the point where he's barely ever even getting hit.
Yeah.
They'll go to swing and without any effort, he just kind of yep, out of the way, punch, punch, punch.
Punch, punch, punch.
Yeah, to the point where he keeps hitting them. At one point, they get knocked away, and Han's like, "You go get him." And Tiger's like, "No, you go first."
Yeah. I don't want to go.
Meanwhile, Gina Carano almost arrests Michelle Rodriguez, gets handcuffs on her, but then she gets knocked away. And Michelle Rodriguez takes the other half of the handcuffs and uses them as brass knuckles to fight.
Yeah, and
Because
then
that would work.
And then eventually, Michelle Rodriguez gets away from her a little bit, and then spear tackles her down a case of stairs, and
Yep.
it's just okay, that's over.
After almost getting choked out by Gina Carano's thighs until she bites her leg.
Yeah.
But yeah, she manages to just get up and run on to the last train of the subway as it's leaving and get away.
Taking a fall down the stairs like that is a little rough, though. Jeez.
Well, I mean,
they got up really easily.
they got up easily from that. Look at what The Rock just did.
Yeah,
before.
I know.
Basically, the Asian guy finishes both of them off in the fight with one move, where he runs up after knocking Han on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Drop kicks Tyrese through a glass window,
And then
at the same time just falls and
elbow drops
Han.
the other guy. Yeah.
And he just kind of stands up and walks off.
Yeah.
They
People just get out of his way.
yeah, they get up a couple minutes later. They're all beaten up, and Tyrese's "You don't tell anyone about this.
Yeah.
No one."
No one. Han's just yeah.
They go back, and everyone, they managed to get the information about Braga. So Giselle was the only one who was in any way successful. The rest of them just got their asses kicked again. And because of the information about Braga, who's in jail back in L.A., from the end of 4, Paul Walker's Braga's involved, man. When I put Letty undercover, this is all my fault. It's totally my fault. I gotta go make this right. I gotta go talk to Braga in prison in the States where I'm wanted. And
This is almost useless.
yeah, they're all explaining how I was what? Why would you?
Who cares?
He's no man, I gotta make this right. So he goes to do that, and literally he doesn't really find out anything.
No, not really. It basically just gives him an opportunity to say, it's if Shaw didn't want you there, you wouldn't be there, or whatever later on.
That's the only information
that's really
he finds
the
out,
only, yeah.
and that Shaw has he's got ears, he's got people inside the CIA, the DEA, FBI, Interpol, everywhere, every organization in the world, he's got people on the inside.
It's as soon as you sign up Michelle Rodriguez for undercover, she was dead.
Because he knew about it, because he knows about everything.
Yeah.
Also, the explanation of how she didn't die was that the dude who crashed into her car and then shot her, he didn't shoot her, he just shot the gas tank, and she went flying down a hill and ended up in the hospital with amnesia.
No memory, yeah.
And then Shaw went to finish her off 2 days later in the hospital, but found out she had amnesia. So he was instead of that, I'm going to recruit you to be part of my crazy vehicle hijack team. What happened next? The street race.
Yeah, with Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yep. So Vin Diesel shows up at the street race, and Michelle Rodriguez is there, and she's just like beat a guy and got his pink slip and everything, and she's going to leave, and he just pulls up beside her, and she's like, "Wow, you got some balls, like coming here." He's like, "I just want to race." She's like, "Okay." So they race through London, and he's doing crazy stuff. He's driving backwards and everything. She's like, this guy's insane." And then he ends up winning by like half a car length. And they go to an abandoned lot and talk, and he's like talking about how much he knows her and like showing her like all the scars on her body and how she got them, and gives her back her necklace. And then she drives off. And then another car pulls up and Shaw gets out.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. This is where he explains how Dom is all about family and he's all about precision and getting the job done. And then he basically gives Vin Diesel this option. He's like, "Okay, you leave. No one in your family gets hurt. You know, it's like, I'll let you all go. I don't care." Vin Diesel's like, "You don't threaten my family. I'll walk out when she walks out." He's like, "Okay." And then there's laser sight right on Vin Diesel's chest.
Then there's laser sight.
There's like
right on Shaw's chest.
Yeah.
That's The Rock.
Yeah.
He's always there to save Vin Diesel. Like, seriously,
He's
always.
got his back.
Yeah.
So Shaw's like, "Fair enough. Let's be in touch." And he just drives off. Then they attempt to follow Shaw, and they get it narrowed down to like this one area that he drove in when they lost him. So like that must be his headquarters. They go there, but he's left. There's nothing there. But then The Rock looks down and he's like, "There's some paint on the ground."
There's never nothing.
Scrapes it up with his knife, takes it back, and apparently it's some super fancy military paint. And they're like, cross-reference that paint with the places that have the last component that Shaw needs for the whatever magic device MacGuffin that he's making.
This could only be from one place, in Spain.
Yeah, there's only one place where those two things meet. It's this one military base in Spain. So they gotta rush there because Shaw's got a head start, so just Gina Carano and The Rock go there immediately, while the rest of the team packs up all their cars and heads there. As soon as they get there, like General who runs the base and The Rock are talking.
And they find the one guy.
Yeah, and they instantly find like the one member of Shaw's team who'd already like infiltrated the base. I was like, "No, he's got like we're gonna move, we're gonna secure this MacGuffin piece." So they put it on a convoy and ship it. But of course, that's exactly what Shaw wanted.
He knew it all along.
Yeah. And this is, of course, based on the information that you only find Shaw if you want to.
Or he wants you to.
Yeah, if he wants you to. That Paul Walker got. They're able to figure this out too. So they start driving to like get to the convoy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, bam, the convoy's hit. They literally just ram the back. Like it's like this giant crazy vehicle and then like a Jeep on either end. They just ram the Jeep at the back, and like the one guy just like hops out of their vehicle onto it, like shoots the drivers through, and then just like they all walk across this vehicle while it's pinned to the back of the giant thing and climb up on the giant thing, and then just let the vehicle with the dead guys like crash and go off a bridge. Then The Rock's like, "Oh my god, they're hitting the thing." And Vin Diesel's like, "Don't worry, we're on our way." And then they set up one of the first uses of the fancy
harpoon
gun.
Yeah.
Is they put this like self-tightening cable across the road in front of the front of the convoy, so that the one vehicle like crashes into it, and then the giant thing crashes into it, and it's like buckling up, and it's like roar, and then like a tank just bursts through it and drives. Because apparently there was a tank already inside the convoy vehicle.
Yep.
I don't know why.
So
doesn't really matter. The important part is that now Shaw is in a tank.
Yeah, Shaw's in a tank driving down the street, and he's just going like he's a madman now. He's just like enjoying killing everyone that he's running over and all this stuff.
So at first he's just like driving down while Roman and then Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are coming up the other way, like down the highway. So of course he just starts like firing the main gun at them. And then after they pass, they're like swerving around, like driving up behind him. So he's like, "Alright, let's go to the other side." He just drives across the median and then just starts driving over all the oncoming traffic. Just like crushing all the vehicles as they drive. And then they start like stopping, like people are trying to like run and like jump over the median. Just like, whatever, crush.
Yep.
I'm in a tank.
Yeah.
And this is kind of freaking Michelle Rodriguez out. She's like, "Well, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. Why are you insane?" Tyrese gets back behind the tank, and he manages to finally find an opening between the tank and the oncoming traffic that's trying to swerve around the tank, and gets in front of it, to try and get it to stop running everyone over.
And then he notices that they're aiming at him. He's like, "Oh no!" And
So-
like slams on the brakes.
Yeah,
and then
so
he's
they
like,
shoot like right in front of him, but then
Yeah.
he like hits and he's like getting pushed by it, and like the treads are starting to like tear up the back of his car.
So
He's
he
stuck there.
takes one of the cables and ties it around the gun of the tank, and
Yep.
then Paul Walker ramps over something. And
Paul, yeah. At this point, there's also there's a bridge that they pass under, and the tank just shoots the bridge and knocks it down, and like almost crushes Vin Diesel's car. And then Paul Walker's kind of behind him and just ramps over part of the destroyed bridge to cross across.
Yeah.
At this point, the median is like, I don't know, like 30 feet between the two parts of the highway. He's just like, whatever.
he literally says that. He's like, "Whatever," just leaves the highway.
So then, just before his vehicle gets completely crushed under the tank treads, Tyrese like jumps out onto the roof of Paul Walker's car. But luckily, because he'd attached the cable around the tank, his now crushed car is being dragged behind it, and they decide to use it as an anchor to try and stop the tank. So after Tyrese gets in the car,
Yeah.
Paul Walker's like trying to ram the crushed bit of car like over the median, and 'cause
Yeah.
at this point they're on a bridge and like
And
knock
they're on
it
the other
down
side now.
underneath.
Yeah, they're on the other side now, and so Tank's still driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Shaw tells Michelle Rodriguez to go and untie or get this thing off of
Yeah,
the tank.
so she climbs on top of the tank to try and untie the cable. Also, he has no interest in slowing down, even though now they've got like underneath the bridge is hanging this car that's attached to it.
Yeah,
And they're like, whatever, she'll probably get it off in time. Full speed.
yeah, and then basically
It gets caught on something.
and then
And
as
it's like the tank just like and like slams forward and sends her flying. So she's like going to like she's basically gonna fall down
And
in the middle of the bridge.
Vin Diesel has seen this, and he's like, "I know this is gonna happen. I
so
can
he just like hops out
the
of his
exact
car
trajectory." He's just like, "I know how to do
and
this."
just like jumps, like grabs her midair and like they crash onto like the roof of a car.
Yeah, like this is a good, like probably a solid 60 feet that like Vin Diesel flew
Yeah.
across open air to catch her.
Also, had she fallen that distance, not nearly as far as how far Vin Diesel and Paul Walker fell at the start of 5.
Yeah,
That's like 1/5, if that distance.
yeah,
But anyway, it would have been bad, so he grabs her. And because the tank just crashed, they have Shaw and like his whole group now.
so they're back at the military
They're
base.
back at the base, and it's once again the now tired trope of the villain got caught because he wanted to be. But unlike the the Avengers and even the new Star Trek and everything, it's very quick.
Yeah,
Like he gets caught and he's just kind of smirking, and as soon as The Rock goes to interrogate him, The Rock then comes out and like brings him to the rest of the group, and he's like, you should listen to what he has to say. And he turns to Vin Diesel. He's like, remember when I told you bad things would happen to your family? Why don't you try phoning your sister? Paul Walker's like, no, like phones, and they've captured her. He's like, oh, like Superman punches.
yeah,
They have to, pull him away from Shaw. And then Shaw's like, you let me leave right now, or she's dead. and then the base guy is like, if he like takes this thing, like it could destroy countries. Like this is just one person. We're not letting you leave. And then The Rock just pulls out his magnum, like puts it to the guy's head. It's like, you're not making that call. This is Vin Diesel's sister we're talking about. We're bros.
yeah, and then Rock just looks over at Vin Diesel and he's just like, "There's no amnesty or pardons or anything like that."
If he walks out, the chance of you getting a pardon walks out with it. Vin Diesel's like, it walked out the moment I was born. So then they leave.
Stupid line, but anyway.
Yeah. And then, just before Shaw walks out, he turns like, coming baby, and Michelle Rodriguez is like, I'm not
What?
going. But then Gina Carano turns like, yes I am, and walks out with him. He's like, oh my god, that was his inside person. And The Rock's like, no way you live.
No way.
So they leave, and immediately they go to call to have Jordana Brewster killed, but he can't get a signal. Because luckily there's Ludacris doing his crazy hacks. He's like, I've blocked every possible signal on every wavelength ever. We gotta get him.
Yeah.
So then there's a chase down the runway of this base, and they're like, where the hell is he going? And like this giant plane just kind of like taxis down, lands on the runway. And
Tyrese was just like the whole time. He's just like, "What the
like,
hell
where
is this
are they
thing going? It's a
And the plane
military
shows
base."
up, and
He's
Lucas is like, nice, this is your fault. You had to go open your mouth.
"Yeah."
And the back opens, and Shaw drives in,
And this is where the like harpoon guns really take effect.
Yep. So it ends up that Paul Walker and Vin Diesel drive in and start fighting a giant like German man.
Yeah.
Like giant as in like The Rock looks tiny beside him.
Yes.
And there's all sorts of fighting going on, and they manage to save Jordana Brewster. Meanwhile, on one side of the plane, you've got Roman and Ludacris. And on the other side, you've got Han and Giselle. And they all decide that the best thing to do is, with their tiny cars, if they fire their harpoons into the plane, they can stop it. Because like if they manage to like hit one of the
Flaps.
yeah. Then it'll be like it's stuck down, and they won't be able to pull up. But they keep missing and just like hitting the wings, so then their cars are just kind of getting dragged behind this plane. Meanwhile, a big fight. And by big fight, I mean it's flying headbutt time.
So Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are on the plane, and they're fighting. So Paul Walker's fighting Shaw, and Vin Diesel is fighting this gigantic mountain monster. And basically Vin Diesel keeps pulling out these moves that are ridiculous.
Yep.
Like flying headbutt right into the guy's face.
Yep.
And
at this point, The Rock gets on the plane.
yeah.
And by gets on the plane, I mean they pull up in front of the plane, and he just like jumps out of his car onto the landing gear, just like climbs the landing gear into the plane.
The Rock just seems to like jumping from vehicles.
Yeah.
Like that's all he does in this movie is just jump from vehicles.
So he gets in there, and then he starts fighting the giant guy. At which point, you know, he's not really winning, not really losing. He's holding his own. But Vin Diesel comes in to help. And by help, I mean he just runs in, tackles the giant guy's thighs, who has to weigh at least like 400 pounds, easily just like lifts him up in the air. At which point,
oh yeah,
The Rock just like
clotheslines him.
Clothesline on the guy while he's in the air.
This is a wrestling match. Like all sorts of wrestling matches are going on.
At this point, the plane starts taking off. So on the one side, you've got Tyrese and Ludacris freaking out because their car's like spinning around and getting dragged. On the other side, the cars are actually starting to lift off the ground. They're like barely touching.
And the cord is underneath the one vehicle, underneath the SUV.
And yeah, so like the two vehicles kind of like stuck together on the cable. And like at this point, they start fighting on top. Like Giselle gets pulled out of the car by like the one guy who's like on top of the two vehicles, and they're fighting up there. As like Han tries to climb out the other side to get to her. At this point, Paul Walker, he got Jordana Brewster, and they drove off the back just as the plane was starting to take off. So they got out. And then he pulls up in front, and he managed to make the shot to hit the flap. And by shot to hit the flap, I mean like here's the wing, here's an engine, here's the flap. He fires so that the harpoon gets sucked through the engine and then hits the flap from inside the engine. Because he can do that. So then the plane can't take off anymore, and it's like kind of crashing because eventually they'll run out of runway. Eventually. At this point, they've gone down a good 50 miles of runway.
Yeah, because this runway is
just
it never ends. It seriously never ends. Because like the scene is what, probably 20 minutes.
Probably about that, yeah.
And the plane's going the whole time.
They're going at like takeoff speed down this runway this entire time. So Tyrese and Ludacris's vehicle gets like under a door. Oh, and before this, there's a rematch of Gina Carano and Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And right at the end, Gina Carano is about to like, win or like leave the plane or something.
And then The Rock just here, harpoon gun.
Yeah, The Rock just chucks the harpoon gun to Letty, and she's just like, you picked the wrong side, just like fires it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then it's time to leave. And the ones on the plane still are The Rock, Letty, and Vin Diesel. So The Rock, he loves jumping from things. So he just jumps out of the plane like...
It's like I've done this a few times today.
It's only like 50
Whatever.
feet down and lands in the truck.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Just...
And then Vin Diesel like, you gotta go next. Like, kind of throws Michelle Rodriguez into the vehicle too. Then he's going to jump, and he like notices out of the corner of his eye that Shaw's still there. He's like, no way you live. And he goes after him. Meanwhile... on the other side, on the hanging cars, Giselle almost falls off, and like Han like slides across and like grabs her arm. He's like, I got you.
And they share a moment for a second.
Yeah, but then like the one dude's like coming up, and he's like gonna get Han from behind. So she lets go, and like as she's falling, she just pulls out her gun and like shoots that guy, and he's like, no. And then he just turns around and starts beating on the shot guy repeatedly in the face.
Yeah, and then throws him into the engine.
Throws him into the engine of the plane. Meanwhile, Shaw and I'm not actually sure what Vin Diesel does. I think he flies into Shaw's car through like the back seat and like clotheslines the seat and like smashes Shaw into the
I don't
dashboard or
know.
something.
That was a little. It wasn't shot very well.
Yeah.
But it was just.
But yeah, so they're fighting, and eventually Shaw gets like thrown out the back of the plane and falls to his death. At which point, like the plane's like literally starting to crash. Like the one wing has hit the ground and like the engines have exploded and that wing's gone now.
So as the plane's exploding, Vin Diesel just drives out the front of the plane.
Yeah, as the nose of the plane is hitting the ground, he just like ramps through the front of the plane in a car.
And then starts flipping.
Yeah, like flips and crashes just as the plane crashes. So everyone pulls to a stop and like watches like the fiery explosion wreckage.
Naturally right at the end of the runway.
Yeah. They stopped with like 20 feet left.
Runway.
And they're all like, you know, kind of sad watching it. And then from the burning wreckage, like, Vin Diesel just walks out, and The Rock's just like, "Good work, son."
He's just like,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Jordana Brewster's the first one to know. She's looking around, like, "Where's Giselle?" And Han's just standing there looking like super sad, like, "Oh my god."
But you didn't see her die, so in movie rules, that means that she's still possibly alive.
She kind
somewhere.
of had to die, just for continuity, seeing as the first time we met Han was the movie he died in. And seeing as they're like the super couple, it's like, well, they're not a couple in that first movie he's in. So it would stand to reason something has to happen to her eventually. Mm-hmm. And that something is she sacrificed her own life to save his life. And then he moves to Tokyo, just like they've been talking about doing, where he dies. Yeah. Spoilers for the third movie from 2006. And so then they're standing around.
Yeah.
And The Rock's like, "Name your price."
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel's like, $13.27, and everyone's like,
What?
And then it cuts to his old family house back in L.A. and the street number is 1327. And you know what time it is? That's right.
It's barbecue.
It's family barbecue time.
And as The Rock walks up the driveway to like talk to them, Tyrese is just like, "Oh, hide your baby oil." "Oh, I'm just kidding." He's like, "Oh, hide your big forehead." Just like, what the fuck? Because like
constantly making jokes about Tyrese's huge forehead. And the weird thing is they've already moved back into LA. And like they're living in LA in the old house. And then The Rock shows up. It's like, "It's official. You're all free." It's like, why'd they move back before that was official?
Yeah.
But whatever. It's a reason for The Rock to show up. And
he's Vin Diesel's stand-in way for the
he's got his old Brazilian partner back, who was, you know, not a traitor, like, except that she ended up like quitting to go live with Vin Diesel, which is kind of traitor, seeing as he was an outlaw. Less traitor than Gina Carano.
Yeah.
So her and Letty have a moment. So there's more discussion about whether Paul Walker's kid, you know, is he going to be an American muscle car, or is he going to be an import guy? Because they're talking about it, and Vin Diesel's like, his first engine that he builds better be for a Charger.
He's like, "Oh,
and
you mean
Paul
Skyline?"
Walker's like, "You mean a Skyline?" He's like, "Oh, you." Yeah. And then Vin Diesel and The Rock have a really awkward, you know, bromance, because they say goodbye to each other, not facing each other,
just
but standing side by side, looking over each other's shoulders. And then they all sit down, and of course Tyrese, you know, Captain Constantly Eating, is the first one to reach, which by house rules means he's got to say grace. And he does.
And he's like, you know.
And he's like, thanks for family, and all of us being together, and the people we've lost, etc., and fast cars. Directed by Justin Lin. But then, it's not the end.
There's a few little credits, and then all of a sudden it's like Tokyo Drift time.
Yeah, now it's Tokyo Drift time, and it's like the part where Han dies, but it's intercut with this guy listening to a police scanner about this race happening, and then it's that whoever that person is the silver car that rammed Han, and then so that happens, like Han's laying there in his like crashed car and it's upside down.
Jason
Statham did it. Jason Statham is Shaw's brother, and he's got the necklace, Letty's necklace, that Vin Diesel gave it to Letty, who kind of handed it to Shaw, who just kind of left it behind. And somehow Jason Statham got it. It just like kind of chucks it into Han's car and walks off as it explodes. And as it's exploding, he like dials Vin Diesel, like, "Vin Diesel, this is Jason Statham. You don't know who I am, but you're going to. Dun dun dun."
The next movie, Furious Statham.
So yeah, that was the movie. It's dumb,
Yeah,
but it's dumb in the best way.
like they know what they're doing.
Yes,
like
they know exactly what kind of film they are making.
Yeah. They're not trying to be serious.
Yeah, like it's not like Star Trek was trying to be like an intelligent science fiction movie, and it was dumb.
Yeah.
This is just as dumb, but it knows it's just as dumb. It has flying headbutts and The Rock jumping 30 feet onto vehicles repeatedly.
Yeah. There was moments when like we would just be we'd burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like when Vin Diesel did that fucking flying headbutt.
Okay.
I could not contain that laughter. It was priceless.
I don't think there's anything quite as good as the whole safe scene from the end of 5. I still think that's the best action scene they've done, and also the most ridiculous action scene they've done. But in terms of actual, like, pacing, I think this is the best one.
Yeah.
I'd still, like, overall, I'd give the edge to 5. I liked 5 a little bit more, but this is really close, and I can see people liking this one the best. The series has gotten so much better since Justin Lin has been directing it. It's why I'm hesitant about the fact that they're rushing 7 and he's not going to be directing it. But then again, I mean, he has directed 4 of them in a row. And what director has directed 4 of the same series in a row before? So, I mean, it's okay if he leaves, but the guy that they got to replace him, like, it's the guy who did the first Saw and Insidious, you know? Really, I mean, maybe he'll surprise me. And the next one will be awesome. But it just feels like he's not the right guy to do it.
Anyway, thank you for watching our review of Furious 6. We hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe at the bottom of the video there and leave a comment if you have anything to tell us. I'm Matt, this is Jerva with the Busty Couch. Thanks for watching.